Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced, and now we are covering the saga here of Arjun Erigaisi, the brilliancy that he scored in the Olympiad, in the 45th Olympiad here. He scored 10 out of 11. That's absolutely spectacular, and we are game 6th. If you can believe it, Arjun Erigaisi here is on 5 out of 5. He has won all his rounds. He's given India a sigh of relief, scoring for India in every match, and now will he be able to score against Sanan Sjugirov? Against Hungary, it's going to be a tough battle, but let's see what he does here. Just e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to e5. We go into the Ruy Lopez here, a6 now, bishop to a4, knight to f6, and just castles, and now d6 here, rook to e1, bishop to d7, and c3. And because sometimes here just the pairings are a little bit weird, so some people get two blacks or two whites or something like that. So that's why here Arjun got two whites, and now he's going to be facing here his opponent from Hungary with the black pieces. So let's see what he's able to conjure here. He just g6 by Arjun. It's definitely a very nice move. This time is defense. Here just going for d4, immediately striking in the center, bishop to g7, and now just going for h3, not allowing any bishop jumps in the future. Castles now, and although you could go for a move like bishop to c2 in this position right away, but after knight to h5, the thing is that a4 if you play, then queen to e8 comes, and queen to e8 serving as a very nice defender to that pawn, because somewhere along the line you're gonna want to push f5, because you cannot play on the queen side. Queen side space is already being covered. Somewhere along the line b4 could be an idea, so you cannot push there, so you have to create play towards the king side here. If you go for a5, not taking more space, then just f5, ef, gf, and here after d captures, now you can play d captures. Rook is coming in next. You can play the queen even here. There could be some pushing ideas in the future as well. So positionally, black is doing very fine. But here after castles, we have knight bd2. Now just going for c captures, knight to b4, and now just going for bishop captures, trading one pair of bishops. Queen captures, queen to b3, attacking the knight, but a very nice a5, saying that you want to dislodge my knight, you want to ruin your pawn structure. Then it just ruin the pawn structure, and it's just a3, knight back to c6, and just d5. And the thing is, you cannot play a move like knight to e5 in this position, because if you go for knight to e5, then the thing is that knight captures will be played, and after d captures, you have to understand there is a very nice move in this position, which is knight to c4. And now the trouble begins, because if you go for a4, pushing the queen back, which is the best move recommended by the engine, you go queen to b4, and after knight to h5, trying to create some play, then just comes bishop to d2. It's easy development for white, whereas I can capture this pawn anytime. I don't need to rush it, because you cannot move the rook and keep on defending everything, and my rooks and every pieces are very nicely placed. Somewhere along the line I'm going to be able to creating some breakthroughs. I already have a semi-pass pawn, so somewhere along the line I'll be able to collect some pawns, and that's why my position as well, somewhere along the line, it will benefit me. But after rook f to e8, it's just very difficult position to play. For Arjun, you're gonna have to play on the back foot, and Arjun, master of chaos, he doesn't like to play on back foot. So here after d5, not going for knight to e5, he goes for knight to b8. He willingly sacrifices the pawn, saying that I'd rather sacrifice the pawn than play on the back foot. Here queen captures on b7 was paid by Sanan, but now just comes knight to a6 and just queen to b3. Now knight to c5 attacking the queen. We have queen to c4 and just queen to a4 asking for a queen trade. Well, if you trade, it's just the thing is that you don't. Yes, you get the knight on a4, and but other than that, you don't have anything. Why would you trade the queens when you're with the white pieces and trying to push for a win? So here just e5 was played by Sanan, and now just comes queen caps on c4, knight captures, d caps on e5, knight f captures, and you can see that there are a lot of knights here towards your king, so you have to be a little bit careful. Knight caps on d5 was played by Arjun, just grabbing back the pawn, rook to d1, and you cannot really play a move like rook a to d8 in this position, just getting the rook into the way, because here knight to b6 was played. But if you I'm just showing you the line here. If you go for rook a to d8, then just comes knight to c6 attacking the rook, and if you're gonna have to move the rook now, here rook d to e8, and the thing is that you cannot capture. If you capture, then just check comes, and here once the king moves, you have this very nice move, knight to b3, and you're gonna win the piece back. There is no doubt about that. I can just play even a4, and you cannot move it, because you have to understand here rook will be hanging. So positionally, I'm doing pretty okay, even though all of these pieces are very decently placed, but still, hey, Arjun would be able to make use of that. But after rook to d1, we have knight to b6 now by Arjun, bishop to e3, and just going for knight c to a4. So definitely that pawn will be under attack if this knight ever moves. Yes, these knight pair are looking very nice, but you also have a knight pair, so maybe it's not that bad after all. Here just bishop to d4, very nicely centralizing the piece. Always centralize the piece, as Sanan is doing right now. Here just rook a to d8 attacking the piece, but now just bishop caps on b6, c captures, and now just going for knight to d7 attacking the rook. Rook moves, and now here just knight captures, and it seems like you've grabbed a pawn, but hey, you've also lost, obviously not that, but you've also lost that pawn with the bishop. And here just rook captures was played, rook captures, rook to a2 attacking the bishop, first rook to d1 check, King moves, and now bishop to d4 attacking the knight. Knight moves to c4, and just a4 was played. And with every trade that's been happening, it seems like Arjun is pushing for a draw in this position, and he will be happy to go for a draw with the black pieces, because I think India against Hungary, we had a decent score, and I don't think there was any trouble against Hungary that much. And even if he drew here, I think it would have been fine. But here just g3 by Sanan. Now just comes bishop to c5, rook to c2, but rook to d4, and Arjun is still trying. He's still pressing for the win in this position, because he understands that's on a dark square, so you might be able to create something here. But Sanan just brings the king into the game. King to g2 was played, king to f8, rook to c3, and now just comes king to e7, knight to e5, and now finally just attacking the knight. Knight moves to d3, and what do you do here? Bishop to b6 was played, but now just comes king to f3. Now just comes rook to b5, king to e2. Both players have reached the time control now, and they will be able to just get some extra time on the clock, maybe able to think about that Arjun would want to push in this position or not. Here rook to b3 was played, but now just comes this knight to b4, and slowly you can see that the power is shifting towards Arjun's side. Why is that the case? Because here knight to b4, decent move, but it was not the best move. Here king to d7 was played by Arjun, the absolute best move, getting the king into the game. Yes, the rook is currently cutting the king off, but in this position here you are supposed to play a very crucial move, which I'm not going to tell you, but I will show you what the blunder was. Here rook to d3 check was played, and that's the reason why here Sanan's position just completely collapsed. But I'm gonna ask you to pause the video and try to find out the only defensive resource for white in this position to be able to hold this position. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is rook to c4, and it's not that difficult to find, but it's still a little bit difficult to find, because you have the only pawn here that you're sacrificing, and you're allowing black to create a pass pawn. If you go for rook caps on e3 in this position, then just knight to c2, rook to a2 attacking the knight, king to d3, and here just king to d6, and now just going for f4. You might be able to hold this position. I mean, Arjun is still better, but you might be able to do something about it. You won't allow, somewhere along the line you can just grab a few of these pawns and maybe just sacrifice the knight for that pass pawn, and you might be able to hold for a draw. I mean, it can happen, but the thing is that that was the only option here Sanan had in this position. But after king to d7, he goes for rook to d3 check, and now here rook captures on d3 was played, knight captures, king to c6, and the thing is here, this is, I mean, still a problem. Here king to d2 was played, bishop to d3, and now just going for this bishop to d4, and now just going for this f3, king to d5, king to c2, and just bishop to g7, h4. Now bishop to f6, but now just comes king to d2, king to c4, and you might feel like, well, how are you making progress? Well, the thing is that this is very much of a threat, and you cannot get anyway with trying to protect it. You at least need 3 tempos, and you don't have that, unfortunately. King to c2 was played, but now just comes h5, g4, h captures, f captures, bishop captures on h4, and here knight to e5 check was played, but king to d5, and the trouble is now you're not doing anything. If all of your pieces here are stuck now guarding that pawn, so you have to understand king can go here and just grab a bunch of these pawns and create another pass pawn, and you cannot do anything. And now you gave up the h4 pawn to try and create some chances for your knight, and but still it doesn't work. Here knight caps on f7 was played, but now just comes bishop to f6, and where is the knight even going in this position? You cannot go here, you cannot go here, you can go here, but I don't think you would want to go here. But after this everything is covered here, and this knight is unfortunately in a very bad position. And here king to d3 was played, king to e6, knight to h6 was tried, but just bishop to g5. Now comes knight to f5, but here just g captures, now just pawn captures, and in this position just king to d5, not even bothering to capture that pawn, because the thing is that I want to capture the pawn and get my pawn, create a pass pawn in this position, and that would be completely winning. Sanan also realizes this, and it was on this move, on just move 57, Sanan Sjugirov resigned the game, and Arjun got this spectacular victory. I mean, it's mind-blowing that this guy is 6 out of 6 in Olympiad. Can you believe 6 points out of 6, crushing everyone? I mean, everyone knows about Fabi's amazing run in the Field Cup, where he was able to get 7 out of 7, and now this guy is in the Olympiad where his country needs him the most. He is 6 out of 6. That's absolutely spectacular and could not be applauded enough. I mean, kudos to Arjun for creating such masterpiece on board 3. I mean, he's just winning and just crushing opponents left and right, and Sanan is not a weak opponent. Don't take him for lightly. He is a 2650 rated opponent, and he is very, very strong grandmaster from Hungary. So I mean, definitely an amazing player here. Arjun crushing every opponent, like it's just a normal game playing against such grandmasters and crushing them. It's definitely not an easy feat. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, and we'll be covering this tournament. We'll be covering entirety of all of Arjun's games to the entirety, and yeah, I'll be able to see you guys very, very soon. Thank you very, very much for watching.